The scent of cinnamon and brown sugar drifted through Maya Chen's small apartment, a bittersweet perfume that only deepened the silence around her. She stood at the kitchen counter, rolling out pie dough with practiced hands, even though she had known for 3 days now, that she would be the only one eating it. 26 years old, and this would be her first Thanksgiving completely alone. She paused, flour dusting her fingertips, and glanced at her phone, sitting dark and quiet on the counter. No missed calls, no apologetic texts. Her mother was in Taiwan, visiting relatives Maya couldn't afford to see. Her roommate had left yesterday for her boyfriend's family gathering in Connecticut. And the friends she'd made since moving to New York 18 months ago, they all had their own tables to sit at, their own families pulling them in directions that didn't include her. Maya had told everyone she was fine. Really, don't worry about me. I'll have a quiet day. It'll be nice. The lie tasted more bitter each time she repeated it. Outside her window, the Brooklyn street was unusually quiet for late morning. Most people were already where they belonged, laughing in warm kitchens, watching football, arguing about politics with uncles they only tolerated once a year. The gray November sky pressed down like a weight, and Maya felt it settling into her chest. She finished crimping the edges of the pie crust and slid it into the oven, then wiped her hands on her apron. The apron had been her grandmother's, soft cotton, printed with faded roses, the strings frayed from decades of use. Nai had passed away 2 years ago, but wearing it still felt like being held. What would Nai say if she saw me now? Maya wondered. Probably something practical, wrapped in love, the way she always did. Lonely is just a feeling, little one. Feelings pass, but a good pie, that stays with you. Maya smiled despite herself. She'd made the pie because it was the one Thanksgiving tradition she refused to abandon. Her grandmother's recipe, passed down through generations, adjusted over the years for American ovens and American tastes. Sweet potato with a whisper of ginger, topped with marshmallows that would brown into perfect golden peaks. A pie meant for sharing. A pie she would eat alone, slice by slice, until the loneliness became leftovers she could throw away. She was just untying her apron when her phone buzzed. Maya's heart leapt, then sank when she saw it was just an email notification. A newsletter from the community center where she volunteered on weekends, teaching art to kids from the neighborhood. She almost swiped it away, but the subject line caught her eye. Urgent. Thanksgiving volunteer needed. Morning shift. She opened it without thinking. Due to a family emergency, we're short one volunteer for our Thanksgiving meal service. If anyone can help serve from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., please reply ASAP. We're expecting over 200 guests today. Maya looked at the time, 10:47 a.m. She looked at the pie in the oven, the empty chairs at her tiny table, the silence that had become her unwelcome companion. Before she could overthink it, she typed a reply, "I'm on my way." Welcome back, family. If you're settled in and ready for this journey, subscribe now and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Because tomorrow I've got another incredible story waiting for you. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's begin. 40 minutes later, Maya pushed through the doors of the Hargrove Community Center, slightly out of breath and still tasting the cold November air. The transformation inside stopped her in her tracks. The gymnasium she knew so well, where she taught watercolors to 7-year-olds and helped teenagers discover they actually could draw, had become something magical. Long tables stretched across the floor, covered in white tablecloths and decorated with paper turkeys that the kids must have made. Orange and gold streamers hung from the basketball hoops. The smell of roasting turkey and gravy filled the air, rich and welcoming. And people. So many people. Volunteers in matching aprons bustled between tables, carrying trays and pitchers. Elderly guests were already settling into chairs, some alone, some in pairs, all of them wearing expressions of quiet gratitude. "Maya! Oh, thank God!" Denise Watkins, the center's director, rushed toward her with arms already outstretched. The older woman pulled her into a quick, fierce hug. "You're an absolute angel for coming. I know it's last minute." "It's fine," Maya said, and this time she meant it. "I'm glad I can help." "We've got you on serving duty. Turkey and sides. Think you can handle it?" Maya nodded, already feeling something loosen in her chest. Here, she wasn't alone. Here, she had purpose. Denise handed her an apron, orange with a cartoon turkey on the front, and pointed her toward the serving line. Maya took her place behind a massive tray of mashed potatoes, ladle in hand, and prepared to spend her Thanksgiving exactly where she was supposed to be. She just didn't know it yet. By noon, her arms ached and her cheeks hurt from smiling, and she had never felt better. The guests kept coming, elderly couples holding hands, single mothers with children bouncing at their sides, veterans with distant eyes that softened when someone wished them a happy holiday. Maya served them all, remembering names when she could, offering extra portions to anyone who looked like they needed it. She was so focused on the next plate, the next face, that she didn't notice the commotion near the entrance at first. But then the whispers started. "Is that? No way. It can't be. What's he doing here?" Maya looked up, curious, and her ladle stopped mid-motion. A man had entered the gymnasium, tall, maybe mid-40s, with silver threading through his dark hair at the temples. He wore a simple gray coat over a sweater, no tie, nothing flashy. But there was something about the way he carried himself, the quiet authority in his posture, that made it impossible to look away. More than that, though, was the expression on his face. It wasn't the polished smile of someone performing charity for cameras. His eyes moved across the room with genuine attention, taking in every detail: the paper turkeys, the elderly man struggling to cut his turkey, the little girl showing off her new shoes to anyone who would look. He was seeing this place, really seeing it. "That's Alexander Mercer," whispered Janet, the volunteer next to Maya. "The tech billionaire. His company developed that AI thing everyone uses. What's he doing in Brooklyn?" Maya didn't answer. She watched as Alexander Mercer declined something from a flustered Denise, probably an offer to sit at a special table, knowing Denise, instead picked up a serving apron from the stack by the door. He tied it around his waist with surprising ease and made his way toward the serving line. Toward her serving line. "Looks like you could use some help," he said, his voice a low, warm baritone that somehow cut through the noise of the crowded room. Maya blinked at him. Alexander Mercer, the man whose face she'd seen on magazine covers, whose company was worth more than some country's GDPs, standing next to her, reaching for a serving spoon. "The mashed potatoes are a two-person job. I won't turn down the backup," I heard myself say. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe, or amusement, and then he smiled. Not the camera-ready smile she'd seen in photos, something smaller, realer. "Then let's get to work," he said. And just like that, Maya Chen found herself spending Thanksgiving serving mashed potatoes beside a billionaire. She had no idea that by the end of the day, nothing about her life would be the same. Have you ever had a moment when a stranger walked into your life and changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. The serving line moved in steady rhythm, and Maya found herself stealing glances at the man beside her. Alexander Mercer worked without hesitation, scooping generous portions onto every plate, meeting each guest's eyes with quiet respect. No cameras followed him. No assistants hovered nearby. He was simply there, doing the work. "You're good at this," Maya said during a brief lull. He glanced at her, eyebrow raised. "Scooping potatoes?" "Making people feel seen. That man who just came through, the one with the veteran's cap, you thanked him for his service without making it awkward. Most people either ignore it or make a big production." Alexander was quiet for a moment. "My father was a veteran. He hated the performative stuff. Said real respect was just showing up." "Was?" "Passed away. 6 years ago." "I'm sorry." He nodded, something distant in his gaze. Thanksgiving was his favorite holiday. He grew up poor, really poor. A hot meal with family meant everything to him. He paused. After he died, the holiday felt empty. Big house, catered dinner, nobody who actually knew him there. So I started doing this instead. Maya felt something shift in her perception. The magazines painted Alexander Mercer as a genius recluse, brilliant but cold. But the man beside her carried his grief openly, like a wound that had healed but left its mark. "What about you?" he asked. "Why is someone who clearly has somewhere better to be spending Thanksgiving in a community center kitchen?" Maya laughed softly. "What makes you think I have somewhere better to be?" "The flower on your sleeve. You were baking this morning. Nobody bakes on Thanksgiving unless they're planning to share it with someone." She looked down at her sleeve, surprised. The faint dusting of flour was barely visible. "Observant," she admitted. "Occupational hazard." "So?" Maya hesitated. She barely knew this man, yet something about the quiet attention in his eyes made honesty feel safe. "I was supposed to have somewhere to be, but plans fell through. Everyone has their own families, their own lives. I was going to spend the day alone, and then I saw the volunteer email and—" She shrugged. "Here seemed better than my empty apartment." Alexander studied her for a long moment. "You made a pie anyway, even knowing you'd be alone." "My grandmother's recipe. She's gone now, but making it feels like keeping her close." Maya smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Silly, maybe. Not silly at all. That's how we keep people alive, through the things they taught us." He paused. "What kind of pie?" "Sweet potato with ginger. Family secret." "Now I'm genuinely curious." Before Maya could respond, a small voice interrupted them. "Miss Maya?" A little girl with braids and bright eyes appeared at the serving counter, bouncing on her toes. Maya's face lit up with recognition. "Destiny! Happy Thanksgiving, sweetheart. I drew you something." Destiny thrust a piece of paper toward her, a crayon drawing of two figures holding hands under a rainbow. "That's you teaching me to paint. See? You're wearing the pretty scarf." Maya took the drawing like it was precious, which to her it was. "This is beautiful. I'm putting this on my fridge." Destiny beamed, then noticed Alexander. Her eyes went wide. "Are you Miss Maya's boyfriend?" Maya felt her cheeks flush. "Destiny." "We just met," Alexander said smoothly, crouching to the girl's eye level. "But your teacher seems pretty special. I can see why you drew her with a rainbow." Destiny giggled and scampered off to rejoin her mother. Alexander straightened, a genuine smile softening his features. "She's one of your students?" "Art class on Saturdays. She's 7 and already more creative than I'll ever be." "You teach art?" "Volunteer. My real job is graphic design for a marketing firm. Pays the bills." Maya shrugged. "Teaching is what fills the soul." Alexander was looking at her differently now, not with the distant politeness of a billionaire meeting a stranger, but with something warmer. Curiosity. Interest. "Maya," he said, testing her name. "I don't think I caught your last name." "Chen. Maya Chen." "Alexander Mercer, though you probably already knew that." "Hard not to. Your face is on a lot of magazines, most of which exaggerate significantly." He held out his hand. "Nice to meet you properly, Maya Chen." She shook it, noticing the calluses on his palm, unexpected for a man who could buy anything he wanted. "Nice to meet you too, Alexander Mercer." The lunch service wound down around 2 o'clock. Guests lingered over coffee and pie, conversations flowing more freely now that stomachs were full. Maya helped clear tables, hyper-aware of Alexander doing the same across the room. She was carrying a stack of plates to the kitchen when Denise intercepted her. "Maya, I need a huge favor." Denise's face was tight with stress. "Mrs. Patterson, you know her, the woman who comes to bingo every Tuesday? She didn't show up today. She never misses Thanksgiving here. I'm worried something's wrong, but I can't leave with cleanup still happening." "I can check on her," Maya offered immediately. "Are you sure?" "She lives about 15 minutes from here, but it's cold and—" I'll drive her." Both women turned. Alexander stood behind them, coat already on. "I have a car outside. We can check on Mrs. Patterson and be back in the hour." Denise looked between them, clearly torn. "Mr. Mercer, I couldn't ask you to." "You didn't ask, I offered." His tone was gentle but firm. "Maya knows her. I have transportation. It makes sense." Maya's heart did something strange. A flutter she quickly dismissed. "Are you sure? You've already done so much today." "The day's not over yet." He met her eyes. "Besides, I'm not ready to stop being useful." 10 minutes later, Maya found herself in the passenger seat of a sleek black car, giving directions to Mrs. Patterson's address while Alexander navigated Brooklyn's quiet holiday streets. "You didn't have to do this." "I know." "So why did you?" He was quiet for a moment, eyes on the road. "Because you were going to walk there in the cold rather than let an elderly woman spend Thanksgiving alone and possibly hurt. That's not the kind of person you let wander off by themselves." Maya didn't know what to say to that. They arrived at a small brick building, and Maya led the way to apartment 4B. She knocked twice before a frail voice called out. "Who's there?" "Mrs. Patterson? It's Maya from the community center. Are you all right?" A long pause. Then the sound of shuffling and the door cracked open to reveal a tiny woman with silver hair and frightened eyes. "Maya, oh dear, I'm so sorry. I wanted to come, but—" She glanced down at her ankle, wrapped in a makeshift bandage. "I fell yesterday. Stupid, clumsy old woman. I couldn't walk to the bus stop." "Why didn't you call anyone?" Mrs. Patterson's eyes glistened. "I didn't want to be a bother. Everyone has their own families today." Something cracked in Maya's chest. Here was another person who had convinced herself she didn't deserve to ask for help, who would rather suffer alone than inconvenience anyone. It felt uncomfortably familiar. "You're never a bother," Maya said firmly. "Now let's get you some proper care. And then, if you're up for it, we're bringing Thanksgiving to you." An hour later, Mrs. Patterson's small apartment had transformed. Alexander had made calls, quiet, efficient calls, that resulted in a doctor arriving to properly examine and wrap the ankle, followed by enough Thanksgiving food to feed a small army. He'd done it all without fanfare, stepping out to make arrangements while Maya kept Mrs. Patterson company. Now the three of them sat around the tiny kitchen table, plates full, while Mrs. Patterson told stories about her late husband and the Thanksgivings they had shared. 52 years married. He's been gone for 8 now, but I still set a place for him. Silly habit." "Not silly," Alexander said quietly. "Love doesn't end just because someone's gone." Mrs. Patterson patted his hand. "You're a good man. I don't care what those magazines say about you being cold. You've got a warm heart." Alexander's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Maya noticed. After they'd cleaned up and ensured Mrs. Patterson had everything she needed, including phone numbers for both of them, they stepped back into the cold evening air. "What did she mean?" Maya asked as they walked to the car. "About the magazines?" He unlocked the doors but didn't move to open them. "They write stories. Billionaire recluse, emotionless tech genius, robot in a suit." His voice was flat. "After my divorce 3 years ago, it got worse. My ex-wife gave interviews, said I was incapable of connection, too focused on work to be human." "Was she right?" He looked at her then, really looked, and Maya saw something raw beneath his composed surface. "I spent 15 years building a company, sacrificed everything for it. Time, health, relationships. When my father got sick, I wasn't there enough. When my marriage crumbled, I didn't know how to stop it. So maybe she wasn't wrong, but I'm trying to be different. That's why I do this now. Thanksgivings at community centers, weekends at soup kitchens, trying to remember what actually matters." Alexander stared at her, something shifting in his expression. "You barely know me. Maybe, but I'm good at reading people. It's the artist in me." She offered a small smile. "Also, I'm usually right." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The evening air was cold, but something warm was building between them, tentative and fragile, and undeniably real. "Your pie," Alexander said suddenly. "What?" "You made your grandmother's pie this morning. It's probably done by now. I opened the car door for you. I think we should go rescue it before it gets cold." Maya laughed, surprised. "You want to eat pie in my tiny Brooklyn apartment?" "I want to taste your grandmother's secret recipe, and I want to keep talking to you." He paused. "Unless that's—" "No," she said quickly. "That sounds perfect." Maya's apartment was small, but warm, filled with plants and artwork and the lingering scent of cinnamon. She felt briefly self-conscious. This man owned buildings, probably multiple homes around the world. But Alexander moved through her space with genuine appreciation. "You painted these?" He stopped before a watercolor on the wall, a sunset over a city skyline. "A few years ago. It's not my best work." "It's beautiful. You see the world differently than most people." She busied herself with the pie, cutting 2 generous slices. They settled onto her small couch, plates balanced on their knees. Alexander took his first bite and closed his eyes. "This is incredible. Family secret, remember? Your grandmother was a genius." They ate in comfortable silence, and Maya felt something she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Peace. Connection. The sense of being exactly where she was supposed to be. "Can I tell you something?" Alexander set down his fork. "What?" "When I walked into the community center today, I wasn't planning to stay long. An hour, maybe 2. Do my duty, leave, spend the rest of the day alone in my apartment because that's what I've done every Thanksgiving since my divorce." "What changed?" "You." Maya's breath caught. "I saw you behind that serving counter, flowers still on your sleeve, treating every single person like they mattered. And then you made that joke about mashed potatoes being a 2-person job, and I thought, here's someone who doesn't see Alexander Mercer Billionaire. She just sees a guy who showed up." "Because that's who you were." "You're the first person in years to see me that way. I have spent so long being headlined that I forgot what it felt like to just be a person." Maya set down her own plate. "Alexander, I know this is fast. I know we just met, but I haven't felt this connected to anyone in longer than I can remember." He met her eyes. "I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know." Maya's heart was racing. Every logical part of her brain screamed caution. This was a man from an entirely different world, someone whose life came with complications she couldn't imagine. But something deeper, something truer, whispered differently. "I was dreading today," she admitted. "I thought being alone on Thanksgiving would confirm everything I feared about myself, that I don't really belong anywhere, that I'm easy to leave behind." Her voice trembled slightly. "And then you showed up, and you were kind and real, and you saw me. Not just polite interest, but actually saw me." "Maya? I feel it too. This connection. I don't understand it, but I'm not going to pretend it isn't there." Alexander reached over and took her hand. His palm was warm, steady. "Then let's not pretend," he said simply. "Let's just see where this goes. What would you do if the universe sent you an unexpected connection? Would you take the risk or play it safe? Share your answer below." The next 2 weeks existed in a bubble of wonder. Alexander and Maya saw each other whenever they could. Coffee between her work meetings, dinners at quiet restaurants where nobody recognized him, long walks through Central Park as the winter cold settled over the city. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told her about his father, about the pressure of building an empire, about the loneliness that came with success. She told him about her grandmother, about her dreams of opening her own art studio someday, about the fear that she would never find where she truly belonged. It felt like discovering a language they both already spoke. But reality has a way of intruding on fairy tales. It happened on a Tuesday, a photograph. Someone had seen them at dinner and captured the moment. Alexander leaning close to Maya, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing. By morning, it was everywhere. Tech Billionaire's new mystery woman. Alexander Mercer spotted with unknown brunette. Who is she? The speculation was invasive and immediate. Within hours, reporters had found her name, her workplace, her social media. Comments flooded in, some curious, many cruel. Gold digger alert. She's not even that pretty. What does he see in her? Another woman trying to cash in on the Mercer fortune. Maya sat in her apartment, phone in hand, feeling like the walls were closing in. This was Alexander's world. Scrutiny, judgment, the constant exposure. She'd known it existed, but knowing and experiencing were entirely different things. Her phone rang. Alexander. Maya, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you this might happen. I'm having my team work on... Your team? She ears went three-doled. You have a team for this? For managing press situations, yes. It's part of your life. I know. I didn't think it through, Alexander, what this would actually mean. A long pause. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm a graphic designer from Brooklyn who teaches kids to paint on weekends. You're a billionaire whose face is on magazine covers. We don't make sense. Maya, maybe this was a mistake. The words tasted like ash, but she forced them out. Maybe we got caught up in the romance of Thanksgiving and didn't think about reality. You don't believe that. His voice was tight. I know you don't. Tears burned in her eyes. I don't know what I believe anymore. I just know that I can't breathe right now and I need space to figure this out. The silence on the other end was devastating. If that's what you need, then I'll give it to you. But Maya, what we have is real. Don't let strangers with opinions decide that for you. The call ended, and Maya let herself cry. 3 days of silence felt like an eternity. Maya went through the motions. Work, home, sleep, repeat. But everything felt colorless. She kept reaching for her phone, starting messages she didn't send, missing Alexander with an intensity that surprised her. On Saturday, she went to the community center for her regular art class. She needed normalcy. She needed to remember who she was before Alexander Mercer walked into her life. Destiny was first to greet her, running over with another drawing. Miss Maya, I made you another picture. Maya crouched down and looked at the paper. It showed 2 figures again, one tall, one small, standing under a heart-shaped sun. That's beautiful, sweetheart. Who are they? It's you and the nice man from Thanksgiving, the one who said you were special. Are you going to marry him? Maya's throat tightened. What makes you ask that? Because he looked at you like my daddy looks at my mommy, like you're the best thing in the whole world. Out of the mouths of children. After class, Maya found herself standing outside, staring at her phone. Destiny's words echoed in her mind. So did something her grandmother used to say. Maya stepped closer without thinking. You know what I see? I see a man who showed up today, not for cameras or credit, who drove a stranger across Brooklyn to check on an elderly woman, who sat in that tiny kitchen and listened to stories about a husband he never met. That's not someone incapable of connection. That's someone who's been hurt and is brave enough to try again. Fear makes us small, little one. Love makes us brave. Always choose brave. She thought about the comments online, the cruel speculation, the overwhelming exposure of Alexander's world. She thought about all the reasons this was difficult and complicated and terrifying. And then she thought about the man who'd served mashed potatoes beside her, who'd listened to Mrs. Patterson's stories, who'd looked at her like she was the first real thing he'd seen in years. She called him.
Maya? His voice was cautious, hopeful. I was wrong, she said. I let fear make my decision, and that's not who I want to be. I don't know how to navigate your world, Alexander. I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable with cameras and headlines, But I know that walking away from you felt like losing something I can't afford to lose. Where are you? Community center. Don't move, I'm coming. 20 minutes later, Alexander's car pulled up to the curb. He stepped out and crossed to her in quick strides, stopping just close enough to search her face. "You're sure?" he asked. "Because I won't survive you walking away twice." "I'm sure." Maya reached up and touched his face. "I'm terrified, but I'm sure." He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious and fragile and absolutely necessary. Maya buried her face in his coat, breathing him in, feeling the pieces of herself click back into place. "I can't promise the press will go away," Alexander murmured against her hair. "But I can promise I'll protect you. I can promise I'll never make you face any of it alone. I don't need protection. I just need you to keep being real with me." He pulled back to look at her. "I'm thinking I'm falling in love with you, Maya Chen." Her heart soared. "I think I'm falling in love with you too, Alexander Mercer." He kissed her then, soft and deep and full of promise, right there on the Brooklyn sidewalk in the cold December air with nothing but truth between them. When they finally separated, both slightly breathless, Maya laughed. "Somewhere a photographer is definitely getting a shot of this." "Let them," Alexander grinned. "I'm done hiding the best thing that's ever happened to me." 1 year later, Thanksgiving Day. The Hargrove Community Center was fuller than ever. Maya moved through the crowd with practiced ease, greeting familiar faces, hugging Destiny, who had grown 3 inches, checking on Mrs. Patterson, who now walked with a cane but refused to miss another holiday. At the serving line, Alexander was already in position, apron tied, ladle ready. "You're late," he teased when she joined him. "I was coordinating the dessert table. We have 4 different kinds of pie this year. But only one that matters," he winked. "Your grandmother's recipe." Maya smiled and took her place beside him. So much had changed in a year. She'd quit her marketing job to open a small art studio, funded partly by her savings and partly by a grant from the Mercer Foundation. Alexander had stepped back from daily operations at his company to focus on philanthropy, and more importantly, on building a life that felt meaningful. They'd weathered more press attention, more scrutiny, more moments where Maya wondered if she was strong enough for this world. But every time doubt crept in, Alexander was there, steady, patient, real. After the meal service ended and volunteers began cleanup, Alexander pulled Maya aside. "I have something for you." He led her to a quiet corner and produced a small velvet box. Maya's heart stopped. "Before you panic," Alexander said quickly, "it's not what you think. Well, not exactly." He opened the box to reveal a delicate gold ring with a single sapphire, her grandmother's birthstone. "It's a promise," he explained. "A promise that I'm in this for the long haul, that I want to build a life with you at whatever pace you're comfortable with. No pressure, no expectations, just a promise." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Alexander." "Before you panic," he said, "it's not what you think. Her grandmother's birthstone. It's a promise. A promise that I'm in this for the long haul, that I want to build a life with you, whatever pace you're comfortable with. No pressure, no expectations, just a promise." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Alexander, you once told me that making your grandmother's pie felt like keeping her close. I wanted to give you something that does the same." He slipped the ring on her right hand. "Whenever you wear this, I want you to remember you belong. With me, with this community, with all the people who love you." Maya kissed him, deep and grateful and overflowing with joy. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too. Happy Thanksgiving, Maya." She looked around the room, at the families finishing their meals, at Destiny showing off her newest drawing, at Mrs. Patterson laughing with other seniors, at the place that had brought her and Alexander together 1 year ago. Last Thanksgiving, she thought she would spend the day alone. This year, she understood the truth. She'd never been alone at all. She'd just been waiting to find where she belonged. And now she had. Sometimes the universe knows what we need before we do. Has life ever surprised you with an unexpected blessing? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Thank you for listening. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional journey. Until next time, keep believing in second chances.